Hello everyone, my name is Luke Lloyd and today we're going to be going over the GL NVR homework. For this, you should be in Year 5, Block 5, and this is the homework that matches with the Lesson 2 material. And you can see that on the screen here is our You Must, and here's the work that we're doing. My name is Luke Lloyd. This is the homework again that we're going to recover. Just to recap what this will offer, so I'm going to go through each of the questions and mark the correct answers on screen. If there are any particularly challenging questions, I might talk through them, and I will also go through an example from each test just to show some of the tips and tricks and the kind of working out that I would expect to see. Now, this can be useful for both children and parent alike, although you won't get marks for the working. If the working isn't there, that I might explain why certain mistakes, for example, might be there. Let's begin. So the first test is test 10. And let's run through. So for this, you should have been timed. You should have had 6 minutes to do the 12 questions. I do this a lot, but I'm just going to show you. If, for example, this was 10 questions, you had questions 9 and 10, and when you were completing it, you only got to question 9, what I would suggest you do is you had written time, and then you give yourself, when you're marking, a score for the time. So for example, let's say you got them all right. For time score, you'd have 9 out of 10. But when you are doing this homework, and when you do homework in the future, you can also finish off the homework. I think that's really important to get the maximum value out of it and give yourself another score out of how many you had with infinite time. The reason it's really important to have these two scores is they tell you different things. This score is like a competency score with unlimited time. How well can you do? This will let you know if it's a topic that you need to come back to. If this score is low, if you're with unlimited time, the score is low, it means more practice is needed, and you probably need to come and visit us in one of the Q&As at the end of a lesson. Just say, have you got any more tips for this topic? Have you got any more help? Because it's something we need to improve upon. If this score is low, the time score, but your total score is high, that just means speed is the thing to work on. And how can you increase speed? And there's many things you can do. For example, you might answer the questions in different order. So you might do question 1, 10, 7, 9, 3, and 2. And the reason you'd be doing that is to try and get the easy marks first, to get the easy marks out the way. And that's something that's really important and can have a really big impact on your pace. Because if you get stuck on question 2 and you spend half your time on it, well, then you're not going to have enough time to finish the exam. So going for the easy questions first is really important. For example, in things like maths, making sure you're using the most efficient working. It's not just, unfortunately, okay to be correct. You have to be correct in the most efficient way possible. And so making sure that when you're going through, are you doing the right amount of working out, which is not too much, not too little, enough to get the mark, but without going over the top. This can be quite different, for example, to how a maths lesson will be done in a classroom where a teacher will always say, do every bit of working, show every step. Well, actually, in our exam, to maximise the number of questions we can handle, you need the correct amount. You need as much working as you need and no more. Other things, we can use this example as one. For example, if I got to here, I worked out and I was going through starting my elimination process, but actually I discovered that A is correct. I then don't have to eliminate all the remainders. I might choose instead to move on, answer every other question, and then at the end, if there's time as a way of checking, I would then come back and have a think about why I might want to eliminate these. So it's making sure that we're not over-eliminating, not overusing the strategies, and that's one of the things to remember as well. Although we'll give lots of strategies to teach you on how to complete things, some strategies vary in terms of their time intensity, and you need to make sure you're only using them if necessary. Right, well, that was a long chat about timings, but I do think it's important, and certainly for the remainder of the block, being aware of timings and how we can improve them is really important, and that's why I encourage you to have the two scores at the end. Right, we are doing something on sequences. So one of the triangles is empty, and you have to decide in this, or one of the triangles, it might be squares, one of the spaces is empty, and you have to find what fits in the slot. Again, with these, I recommend you do it one rule by one rule, and the acronym that you'll need for this is SPANSROS. We did cover this in the live lesson, SPANSROSS. So the children, if you're listening, you should know what this means, and parents, lovely thing to be able to test them on, just make sure you understand. And it's shape, position, angle, number, size, rotation, overlap, symmetry, and one of the other ones, but I'm sure the kids know. So again, focusing on these points one at a time, and then eliminating accordingly until you have an answer. So in this case, it's nice and simple, 1, 2, and 3. One thing that I also recommend as being particularly useful is to sketch what you expect to see. So in this case, I'm expecting to see 3 things, and in the bottom left-hand corner is where the dots or the little squares start. So I'd want to see sketches, and I'd want to see elimination being the primary 2 things. Right, let's run through the answer. Right, let's start going through again. If you want a more detailed explanation, please remember at the back of the books there are answers, and those answers have got really detailed explanations in terms of how to go about solving the patterns. So for test 10, question 1, the first answer is E. Question 2, also E. Question 3, E. Question 4, A. Question 5, A. Question 6, C. Question 7, E. Question 8, B. Question 9, A. Question 10 is C. Question 11 is A. And question 12 is also A. Tidy that one up. So again, give yourself a score, note it at the bottom, fill the score in. If anything particularly jumps out to you at the very back of the book, you'll notice there's actually a section called notes. And that section you can write down, for example, if you know there was something that was a challenge, you know there's a question that you needed to go over, you could make those notes there so that you remember for those sessions, because obviously it might be a little while until the next Q&A. So if you look at the back, I think it's on page 62, section of notes, just a blank bit of paper where you can jot down anything you want to focus on. Right, let's move on. Test 11, similar. This is a matrices. This is a different style of matrices question. So things that you can look for in this, because it's a star matrices. You can still look across rows. So we could still be comparing across here. You can still look vertically, but you can also have difference in what is on the inside section. So these, for example, might have some sort of pattern versus what's on the outside. So there's just a few more angles, essentially. You could be looking, a few more different types of diagonal. You could be looking at what's in the different triangles. But again, with these, you're still looking for a general rule in much the same way that going diagonally here are having the same shapes. So in this case, the rule is you always have the same shape going in these different sort of cardinal directions. And so A is our odd one out, and so I'd still expect to see for this some sort of jotting to indicate what's expected to see in the gap, and also elimination. Once you've decided what you want to see, you can go through and eliminate those that don't fit, and then consider the last few. Again, for this, 6 minutes is how long you should have had, and hopefully we'll go through to see the scores. Right, test 11, let's get ready to go through the answers. So pencils out, pencils at the ready, and let's begin. So, question 1, D. Question 2, D. Question 3, A. Question 4, C. Question 5, C. Question 6, B. Question 7, A. Next page. Question 8, B. Question 9, E. Question 10, A. Question 11, C. And question 12, C. Again, give yourself a score, and we'll go to the next homework. Hopefully, children, those of you who are watching are feeling along. If the pace is a bit too fast for you, what I suggest is, bear in mind, this is a YouTube video. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can actually change the speed by clicking on the little cog. I might do a demonstration of that. Let's see if I can get one up for us now. How would I do this? Right, if I open YouTube, and I'm just going to get a video of cats. There you go. A funny video of cats. Let's go to my YouTube cam. If you look here, so on my picture, this is the settings. And if you want to choose the speed, you can actually modify the speed that I'm talking. So if you want me to speed up, you pick a larger number. And if you want me to slow down, so let's see, very quick slow motion cat video. And look, you can see it's really slowed down, and that might be useful. So just a tip that you can make the use of. So if we go back to LukeCam, so hopefully the pace is okay, but if not, you can modify it. Right, again, give yourself a score, jot down any questions, star things, put them in the notes. If you know, for example, you need to go over question 12 in a bit more detail, and you're going to bring that to the Q&A, and you want to talk about why, absolutely do. Make a note of it so you can do it in the future. Right, let's test 11. Upcoming now is test 13, because you look, test 12 has been skipped. So, test 13. Question 1, sorry, before I begin, and this looks very similar because it's the same example that we went through in the live lesson, but again, just to explain what we're seeing, in these analogies questions, you find a rule or multiple rules that applies from left to right across the arrow, and then you use that rule to eliminate. So for example, I've spotted that it's a mirror image, so it's a symmetrical along that line of symmetry there. Now, of course, that doesn't actually help me on this one because I won't be able to tell if this has been made symmetrical, but what I can tell going from left to right is it's been made larger. It's been enlarged. So now anything that's not been enlarged, I can reduce. And actually, if I look at B, not correct, and I look at E, the line is the difference. So also not E. So that's why. And so what I expect to see here, again, lots of elimination on this one, more elimination than the others because you can't quite as accurately draw what you're expecting to see. And again, just as terms of advice when you're doing these, considering the rules, those Spanseros rules, one by one will help make mistakes. Because if you're trying to hold too many things at your head at once, we tend to find you're more likely to forget things. So I just can spot something, spot a rule, eliminate those that don't apply, repeat until you've got nothing left. That's how I'd approach these. Right, let's go through. So question 1 is C. Question 2 is A. Question 3 is A. Next page. Question 4 is B. Question 5 is E. Question 6 is A. Question 7 is C. Question 8 is E. Question 9 is B. Question 10 is A. Okay, guys, give yourself a score out of 10. Well done. Test 14 next. Again, these are matrices, the more standard style. So again, the tips, look in all your directions. So you want to look across the rows, down the columns, but also consider both diagonal directions to see if you can spot any patterns. And with these again, I would like to see some elimination and some sketching of what you're expecting to see. So once you've spotted a rule, for example, I've spotted that it's the same shape as the circle. I've also spotted that it's the circle that's getting thicker. And now I know what I'm looking for, so I can jump straight to the answer of B. Right, again, 6 minutes, you'll give yourself 2 scores. If you got different times, you didn't complete it. Let's start running through the answers. So, question 1 is A. Question 2 is C. Question 3 is B. Question 4 is A. Question 5 is B. Question 6 is A. Question 7 is B. Question 8 is E. Question 9 is C. Question 10 is E. Question 11 is D. Question 12 is A. Give yourself a score out of 12. Right, guys and girls, you're doing really well so far. Hopefully kids are marking along. Making note of the scores at the bottom is really important. And again, highlighting things you need to practice. From these, you're going to have something you've done best at, something you've not done best at. I think those star matrices can be quite difficult because there's a lot of different directions to consider. But whatever it is, make sure you're letting us know and getting that extra practice. Right, again, you've seen this example before because it's a sequencing example. What would I expect to see here? Well, obviously you're doing it within 5 minutes. You're picking out the questions in order. You're leaving the hardest ones till the end. But again, you've got this lovely empty space in the sequence. So once you've worked out a rule, for example, I've worked out there's always a diagonal line. And also I've worked out that it's getting larger. I can sketch roughly what I'm expecting to see. And it doesn't have to be pretty, it's just to be functional. And now it's very easy for me to work out what the answer is and why. So that's the kind of thing I want to see here. Let's start going through the answers. So, 15, question 1 is D. Question 2 is A. Question 3 is A. Question 4 is C. Next page. Question 5 is A. Question 6 is B. Question 7 is B. Question 8 is C. Question 9 is A. And question 10 is C. And again, give yourself a score. Right, this, so you all can see, is next week's homework, just so you can see what they are. So here are the you musts and the you coulds. Of course, we'll go through these again in the following week. Again, guys, please, if any of those didn't make sense, the first port of call, what you need to do, if you're not sure why they're wrong, is turn to the back of the book and look through the answers and read the explanation. Once you've done that, go back to the page and see if it makes sense. See if you could work it out fresh. Maybe cover it, the answer, or hide what you've put as a correction and see if you can work out what it is and why. Similarly, making sure you can work out why the other possible options are wrong is really useful as a method as well. In terms of what to go next, if you're still not sure, if you've read the answer to the back of the book, if you asked mum and dad, they're not sure, that's absolutely then where you must come to the Q&As with your question, with a page number, and then because of course we've got these slides now, so in the Q&A it'll be very easy for me to open up the slide, go to the correct page, and let's say you needed help on this question here, I can then go over it in loads of detail, but only doing so if people need it, because there's no point in me sitting here explaining questions that people don't need the answers to. So hopefully that's been useful. Hopefully you've now been able to mark it relatively quickly and not too long. We're really looking forward to seeing everyone back in the live sessions. We thought they went fantastically in that first week. We're really proud of them and really proud of how well everyone's done and how much effort they've put in. So thank you for that. And I think I'll say just look forward to seeing you all on Saturday. Thank you so much. Bye bye.